One of the questions that I think is in the back of many of our minds now is, how do we become worthy of miracles? We feel this lack of confidence in the natural world now, and we're searching for more, hoping for spiritual protection, hoping for something supernatural. But how do we get it? So we're in luck, because this upcoming holiday is the holiday of miracles. And the rabbis teach us something incredible. They say that the generation that was in Egypt, they weren't at their holiest point when they were in Egypt. In fact, the Haggadah says that God comes down to save us, and had he waited any longer, we still would have been. And the rabbis teach us the reason why we still would have been there is because they were on the 49th level of impurity. One more moment and they would have been lost forever. How are they worthy of miracles? So if you look at the Seder, there's three pieces. These are the three most important pieces of your Seder table. One is the matzah, for the getting out quickly, represents getting out, freedom. One is the maror, represents the pain, the suffering. The other one is the shenkbon, the korban pesach. That represents the sheep that ultimately became the sacrifice the Jews gave in the temple beforehand, was the sheep that they ate that night at the Seder. Now, why is that so critical for? And the answer is you have to understand what the Jews went through. The sheep, the lamb, the sheep represented Egyptian culture. It was their god. But it wasn't just a sheep in its physical. It represented a larger culture of Egypt. Egyptians were master philosophers. They were the heads of the world of idol worship. They knew how to manipulate the natural world, the constellations. The sheep represents Aries, which is the first of the constellations of the year. And the Jews were commanded, in order to get to the Seder, days earlier, to take the sheep, the Egyptian god, the physical representation of the god, and tie it into their homes. And the Jews looked around and goes, are you serious? Like, so far we were watching you poof miracles, and that was awesome, God, but like, you expect us to go into the streets, pull out a sheep? We're still in Egypt. Pharaoh is still running the place. An Egyptian's going to walk by and see us disparaging their God. They're going to kill us. And the Jews had to do something really hard. They had to bring that sheep in at risk of their own life, because God was testing them. He was telling them, you got to make a choice. That world, that culture, relying on them, they're your master, or I'm your master. And when you make a choice between not who you interact with, but who you rely on, now you make yourself worthy of miracles. You come out of your comfort zone, and God goes, really? God is the reflection of man. He comes in, well, he's more than that, but he comes in based on man's actions. God is like the shade, the rabbis teach us. And in order for the Jews of Egypt to be big, they didn't have to be at the highest level of holiness. They had to be willing to be uncomfortable to get closer to the spiritual, to get closer to God. That korban pesach, that sheep on the table, was their ticket. Them going beyond their nature so that God can go beyond his. And that's why they put the blood of that sheep on the doorpost. Every one of us has that sheep. Every one of us has that part of our lives that we should be doing or that we shouldn't be doing. The call we should make, the way we should pray, the way we should study. All of us have it. It's in the back of our mind. We know it because it comes up at a Yom Kippur. It comes up at a moment of a life cycle. All of us have that thing. And the reason we don't do it is because we're not fully in on the spiritual world. Like, we know it's there. We wink at it. But like, really, really, it's the doctor. Really, really, it's my boss. Really, really, it's the government. And so I'm not going to push myself past my comfort zone for God, for spirituality, for my family, for relation, whatever the thing is, because it's uncomfortable for me. And I don't really, it's fine. On Passover, God says, identify your sheep. The thing you know you should do, you shouldn't do. The person you should call, you shouldn't. What you should say or shouldn't say. The Jew, the spouse, the family member that you should be. Identify it. And give it to me. Take on something big. Look at this holiday and say, I'm about to go past my nature. I'm going to be a bigger person now. I'm walking in, I got my matzah, I got my maror, and I got my korban pesach now. And I'm going to be bigger than I was yesterday. And God, I'm going to get bigger, and I'm going to go past my nature. My prayer is that you go past your nature. And we should have a holiday of miracles for us and all our families.